ends with a large city being set ablaze. Our main character starts by saying the world he knew came to an end on one particular day. It started out as a pandemic. On the news, a report goes out informing the citizens of Korea that 740,000 people have been infected and they are in their 20s and 30s. The next that followed was a war. A lot of soldiers died from the effect and the country ended up losing. Due to that, the economy started declining and food became scarce. A lot of people died from starvation on the streets, leading to a lot of protests and commotion. The omens of the end of the world have appeared, but the one who hammered the final nail on humanity's coffin wasn't themselves, but creatures resembling game-like characters. In other words, otherworlders. The monsters attacked humans, ending and reducing their population, but what happened next was very much predictable. When an animal gets cornered, it fights back. The humans, who are used to being on top of the food chain, having been pushed against the wall, they started fighting back. Of course, they couldn't win when it came to pure physics, so just like in novels, metahumans who possess special abilities appeared. But unlike the novels, the calamity caused by these monsters were so great that they can't be contained by the metahumans available, hence they were not enough to end the apocalypse. 3 days later, in one of the tall buildings still left standing despite the ongoing chaos, our protagonist resides. The boy devours a bag of potato chips as he notes the world to not have ended completely. After all, he is still living normally. He gulps down soda from a can and by his side a lot of empty cup noodles lay. After emptying his drink, he notes to be at one great disadvantage. He says he's alone. In his living room, a lot of emptied food cans are scattered across the floor. The dude sulks, noting that he's the only one living in that apartment of 100 square meters. As for his parents and grandfather, they are all outside. The particular place he is staying was bought by his father, who borrowed a total of 200 million won from the bank and dropped all of his family's assets, which totaled another 200 million won. The boy notes that the reason he is allowed in such a luxurious building despite not being born wealthy is because someone needs to be there for about 2 years before they can enjoy the tax benefit from buying it. It's been why he has been living there and got trapped in after the sudden apocalypse. The dark-haired dude gets pissed as he goes through his iPhone. He curses as he sees that the network reception is still bad. He then sighs and resigns to his ill fate. Suddenly, a scream alerts him, so he looks at where it's coming from. A flying creature screeches as it charges straight at his building. As soon as it gets close to the door, it opens its alien-looking mouth, revealing several tongues and teeth. As soon as our boy processes what's coming for him, he braces for impact. The nearer the creature gets towards the building, the more tense he gets, that he even screams while holding up his hands before his face. While still waiting for the moment of impact, the shut-in opens his eyes and looks ahead, wondering why nothing has happened. To his surprise, a blue panel pops up, informing him that a subject who hasn't been permitted entry is trying to enter the building. The creature, which is still outside, is blocked by a barrier. Another screen pops up with the title Ultimate Shut-In. It shows the house declaration to be in the first level, stating that no one can enter the house without the ruler's permission. Our hero breathes a sigh of relief and gets up. He notes that the reason he's been alive so far is because of his ability. He goes to the door to open it, but he is shut indoors. Due to frustration, he kicks the door, but it doesn't budge. Seeing that the door doesn't respond to his plea, he turns around and walks into the kitchen. The MC notes that the reason he's been alive 3 days after the apocalypse is because of his building, and thanks to that, he's been completely trapped inside the house. Moments later, the dude sits in the corner of his room as he reads a panel which tells him that the ultimate shut-in cannot leave the house. He curses at the words and scratches his head out of irritation, saying he cannot do anything. The boy looks at the emptied cans, noting that food is the problem. He recalls his fridge's electricity to have been cut off since the day before, and he has been surviving with side dishes from it. At this rate, it won't last long because perishable items will go bad if they cannot be preserved well. While biting his finger, he says that he's got only a few packets of ramyun left. Suddenly, a screen pops up closely and he looks at it, informing him that he has hinted at a Calican, a level 23 monster. Due to that, he was said to have obtained a great amount of experience and his skill level to have increased. Surprised by what he displayed before him, our prota gasps in shock as he reads the words. He then gets up shortly and checks through the window for what has become the monster that tried to attack him earlier. Peering down the glass, he sees the corpse on the floor and it's being pillaged by a lot of goblins. He cringes at the disgusting sight, wondering if he ended up hunting it because it crashed into his house. Different screens start popping up one after the other, with one informing him that he has obtained a new skill. Another says that the loot nearby has met the requirement. A new screen pops up, calculating the loot. Suddenly, the monsters below start screaming as if enraged by something or someone, confusing our dark-haired dude. Their cries go on and it is like they are in immense amount of pain. Finally, the loot calculation ends and a new screen pops up, informing him that he has earned a whopping sum of 2,203,241 won. The amount is said to be deposited into the wallet of the ultimate shut-in. The slim-looking kid asks rhetorically about the turn of events, but without much time passing, the light in the building is restored. Quickly, he glances around, then a new notification drops in, showing that the house declaration has upgraded to level 3. The rule still stands, indicating that no one can enter the house without the ruler's permission. Now, a new skill has been added called dignity preservation, which is at the base level. The excuse given was that in order to preserve his dignity, half of the house's function will be restored. The shut-in's wallet has been maxed out, and as soon as he reads some of the house functions to have been restored, he clenches his fist with excitement and runs to the kitchen. He tests the tap and sees that water is running. He also checks the electric cooker and tells with tears of joy that the house has reverted to what it was like before the world ended. Bro kneels on the kitchen floor as he cries tears of joy. He then picks his smartphone to check if the network is working, but he sees that it's still useless. He sighs as he rubs his head out of frustration, but then he spots a flash not too far to the bin. Quickly, he rushes over to his computer and plugs the device to it. He has multiple monitors placed side by side. Going through the content of the flash, he sees a picture of his mom holding him when he was a baby. The next picture was when he started schooling. He beamed a smile at his mother while holding her hand. Another one was when he was a grade schooler and he took a picture with his dad and mom. Lastly, was a photo of his birthday, which was a bit recent. In it, he was blowing off his candle while with his parent. After going through the photos, he sighs while glaring that he needs to bring his family into the house no matter what. He stands up from the chair and goes to the balcony. While staring outside, he says it's a necessity. Suddenly, he sees a pop-up indicating that he has gotten a new skill called the store. Although it's at a base level, the description says that he can buy items listed there at original prices. Surprised, he stretches his hand towards the instruction and it shows him his current balance, asking him to list his first time. Pondering on what to do, the shut-in reaches forth his hand and touches the shop logo on the panel. He concludes that the amount displayed before him is connected to the wallet. Rather than proceed with the deal, he walks towards the balcony door and opens it. Immediately, a notification pops up, followed by a barrier telling him that he cannot leave the house. Holding the railings of the balcony, the dude sees the barrier closely, noting that his thoughts didn't work. He thought his skill level went up a bit so he'll be able to get out, but he can't get out. Despite looking a bit disappointed, he believes that if he hunts monsters, his level will increase and he'll get a new skill. Along the line, he believes that one of the skills will be able to let him go out. For the time being, he asks how he'll kill monsters in his state. As he spots the goblins and the creatures flying around the vicinity, he concludes that it'll be hard to expect a situation like what happened earlier. He looks at the goblins still feasting on the carcass and the other creatures and concludes that he might be able to kill them. He picks up a water bottle and prepares to launch it like a javelin. As soon as he releases it, the bottle flies several meters into the air before obeying the law of gravity. Upon spotting that the object leaves the building, our MC rejoices after learning that he can throw items outside the house. Since it's been confirmed, the boy takes a dumbbell, saying he'll try and use it next. Suddenly, screams of the goblins get to him from down below, so he checks to see what's going on. Upon a podium, some goblins signal to the others who are on the fallen monster that it's time for them to evacuate. As soon as they start going their separate ways, the malnourished boy yells at them not to leave as he sees them walking off. He then throws the dumbbell very far while praying that it doesn't miss. The object crashes into the dead creature, startling the goblins. They turn around to find out what happened. Immediately, our boy's expression darkens as he notes that he's in trouble. Looking behind him, he spots a dumbbell lying not far from him and says it's the only one left. He contemplates on what to do since it's the only item that can kill. The dude also confesses that he isn't strong enough to throw TVs and computers. Out of nowhere, a goblin scream interrupts his thoughts, and when he looks down to see what's going on, he spots multiple goblins rioting and pointing to him as the source of the abrupt noise. Upon noticing, the boy starts sweating buckets. As for his adversaries, they are commanded by one of the goblins to charge at our boy. Since the creatures have started coming closer, the shut-in sees when they fall into his range. Suddenly, a store opens up on a floating panel, asking him to list his item. The boy finally touches the list item icon and he is asked if he wants to carry on. To start, the blue floating panel scans the last dumbbell and records the data on the store. A screen pops up, showing him the image of the dumbbell. The price labeled on the dumbbell is confirmed by the scrawny kid to be the same as when he bought it online. With that, the boy learns of the system's market rate to be the same as before the world ended. The dude then selects 2 of the listed items and buys them. The same way it took to scan the weapon is the same way it produced more dumbbells. Upon spotting that his plan worked, the dude rejoices like a child and quickly tests the weapons to confirm their originality. Within moments, he throws a dumbbell out of the balcony and it falls, crashing squarely on the head of a goblin. The singular accelerated move led to the loss of life of the unfortunate creature. Immediately, 3 notification screens pop up, with one informing him that he has hunted a goblin of level 7. Another says he has gained exp. Lastly, 3,345 have been deposited into his account. Rejoicing like a kid, the guy clenches his fist as he jubilates. As for the other goblins, they growl at him for unaliving their comrades. He then returns their anger by tossing some bells at the creatures, but they evade the attacks like a plague. Our dude curses under his breath since his attack didn't work, so he ends up buying 3 sets of dumbbells. Without wasting time, he throws the weapon again and it successfully strikes out a fodder. As usual, notifications pop up informing the boy of the level of goblin and the amount that has been deposited into his wallet. This time around, he gets a notification that tells him that his skill level has increased and he has obtained a new skill. The new ability this time around is known as storage. It is an alternate dimension used for storing items. Seeing that it's a new ability, the dark-haired boy doesn't waste time in testing it out. He starts by picking a dumbbell and trying to place it in the storage. After confirming his choice, the dumbbell disappears from his hand and is told that it's in the storage. He also requests for it back and it is successful. After testing out the ability, the dude grins since one of his wishes has been accomplished. His smile changes from being very pure to that of a villain. Some time passes and he opens the storage. With his hand stretched forward, the dude releases the dumbbells and they rain like disaster, nuking every goblin it came into contact with. While the bloodbath went on, a lot of pop-ups appeared, indicating the number of slayed goblins. By the end of the day, 54,661 had been deposited into his wallet. He was then asked by the system if he'd like to list additional items. Our guy says yes while beaming a smile as if trying to woo the girls in his vicinity. The shut-in has already listed 10 items after the shop opened. He had his foodstuff and provisions scanned and then purchased a lot more of each of those items. Lastly, he had them stored. While standing in his living room and going through his store items, he says he sold the dumbbell he used to defeat the goblin. Looking closely at the amount in his wallet, he sees that one is missing and starts pondering if it costs money to keep the electricity of his house running. He looks back at his kitchen and notes that the electric, gas and water bills must be due to the refrigerator. The boy grits his teeth as he knows what it's like to be a proper adult. He starts by cursing the goblins, remembering that after he massacred most of them, they ran away and abandoned their old home. Ever since, he has only managed to kill 2 of them. In other words, it means he'll lose money if he doesn't see anything to hunt. The lad immediately gets agitated after drawing such conclusions and wonders if there are any other creatures he can hunt. He goes to the balcony to stare outside and only sees the head of the first monster that attacked him. Besides that, the vicinity looks clear. Noting that there isn't a single monster, he plans to find another method. After waiting for some time, the dude wonders if he'll be lucky enough to have a dumb calican fly by. Still looking at the sky, he finally spots something flying towards his apartment. The boy runs inside as he says that he hasn't been abandoned by God. He quickly picks up a ladder that has a mirror strapped onto it. The flying creature, who happened to mind its business, sees the glint directed at it and heads toward it based on instinct, screeching like a halted tire. Upon seeing that his bait worked, the boy marvels while watching his prey get closer to his building. Within seconds, the creature collides with the building, or so we thought. It was saved by a barrier. Still watching the creature scream since its entrance has been blocked, our protag smirks while thinking that if things go as planned then it's a done deal. Still watching the size of the monstrosity, our boy says he'd level up if he kills the creature. Suddenly, he is pushed back by the wind from the creature's wings. The thing sends him a couple of meters away, so he gets up after seeing no sign of the calican and goes to the balcony. Upon getting there, he sees a crack on the wall and discovers it to be caused by the creature's talons. Just some meters above, the monster stands perched to the building wall. It bares its teeth at the boy, sending shivers down his spine. The monster raises its beak and strikes the barrier over and over, causing a pop-up notification to keep on warning the shut-in that someone unauthorized is trying to get in. With each strike scaring the boy, he starts to worry if the monster will break through. Without wasting time, he stretched forth his hand and used the store ability, while noting that he has to do something. The boy goes through the list of his stored foodstuffs, wondering how he plans to use it to his advantage. He looks keenly at the list, noting that from what he has observed so far, loot calculation only happens if the corpse is nearby. He recalls his goblin hunt not to have always been successful. Back then, when some survivors took the corpses of their dead allies away, and those corpses were not counted as loot. In other words, if the distance between the house and the target exceeds a certain meaning, then the loot calculation doesn't occur. Stealing his resolve, the boy asks if there's a way to kill the monster in one shot. His eyes finally settle on the canola oil item. At first his brain boots, but when it catches up to him, he quickly purchases 10 bottles of canola oil. A question pops up, asking to confirm his choice, but the dude says yes either way. Within a few minutes, 10 bottles appeared before him. He quickly picks them and runs to the kitchen. He picks up a pot and fills it up with the bottled oil. Quickly, he sets his electric stove temperature to maximum. While the pot gets hot, the boy straps paper onto a stick with the help of a paper tape. He then dips the stick in oil. As soon as the oil starts bubbling, he summons his store ability, forcing it open, and then he affirms listing the item. The boy then pours the oil into one of those floating pop-up screens. As soon as he's done, the notification informs him that boiling hot canola has been listed. Quickly, the lad picks up a lighter and applies it on his stick, setting it ablaze. He then goes to the balcony where the monster still adamantly attacks. From the balcony, he yells out the command, ordering the summon of canola oil. Immediately, the hot oil pours on the monster, causing it to scream in horror. As it watches the freak struggle with the pain, he takes out his stick while yelling at his foe to die and transfers the flame to it. Not knowing what happened at first, the creature screamed in confusion, but by the time it realized what's going on, the flames had burnt through the feathers. With the pain seeming unbearable, the creature screeches as it falls to the nearby ground. It cries out continuously as it dies and eventually stops making any sound. The first notification after the monster's death was a congratulatory message, informing the shut-in that he has successfully defeated the level 27 Calican. He has gained a lot of exp and he has his skill level increased. At the base of the pop-up bar, a new message appears, telling him that he has obtained a new skill. In the other panel, it calculates the loot and sometimes it stops to call back his attention. The whopping sum of 9,000,001. The boy nearly freaks out while stating the amount since it seemed too good to be true. All of a sudden, another notification comes up, claiming the requirements to have been met. Next step will be the house territory expansion. After reading the message, our boy feels a strong force like an earthquake, so he struggles on his feet. As he wonders what is happening, he holds his chest due to a sudden pain he felt. In that moment, he sees that he can see beyond their room and even up to their neighbors. Realizing that there are people, the boy with the new ability is shocked that he can see the neighbors in the house beside him. Our boy starts to witness a huge change around his body as information about nearby people floods through his mind. He receives information about the family next door, information such as the name of the husband, Choi Hyunjin, who happens to be in his late 30s, the wife, Park Hyun, who is also in her late 30s, their 6-year-old first child, Choi Naeun, and their 3-year-old child Choi Seoyeon. The system lets him know that he has discovered beings that meet the requirements of being taken in as citizens, and afterward, it asks if he'd like to give them citizenship. He gives it a quick thought after finding it hard to decide what exactly he wants. He asks the system what will happen to the family if he doesn't give them citizenship. His reply is that beings not granted citizenship will be expelled from the house, meaning they will all be exposed to the threat of monsters. Determined to protect innocent lives, he gives all 4 of them citizenship. With that aspect settled, our boy decides to check if he's gotten any new skill related to citizenship unlocked, and just as you all expected, he did. He gets a new skill called Ultimate Eyes, and this skill allows him to monitor all of his domain, making sure that nothing in the house escapes his eyes. He checks if there's anything related to the citizens, and after going through, he finds out that each of them has a trust level. He also finds out that he's able to total a population of 600 for his current level. Upon checking out the husband, our boy also finds out that he has the ability to give out a quest to every citizen, and he can also expel them anytime he likes. He checks out the information needed for giving a quest, and he figures out that he's at liberty to give the description, time limit, reward, and even the penalty for failure. To test this out, he gives Hyunjin a quest to hunt down one goblin with a time limit of 168 hours. The reward for this is a small amount of exp and no penalty for failure. Before giving out the quest, he decides to check how far he can go with the penalty, and surprisingly, he's able to go as far as unaliving them. Luckily for Hyunjin, our boy decides to hold back on the quest. Seeing how far his ability so far is, he wonders what he'd do next. He decides to check out on his newly acquired citizens using the Ultimate Eyes. In the other room, the entire family happens to be completely afraid of what's going to happen next. Hyun continues to ask her husband what they're going to do next as they lack basic amenities such as food and water. He tells her to stay in with the kids and wait while he goes out to get them water at least, but she completely disagrees with this, telling him that it's a dangerous task. He makes it known to her that they don't have any other choice, and Seoyeon confirms it when she reminds her parents that she's thirsty. Hyunjin strengthens his resolve to go out there, and all that's left for him to do is to assure his family that he'll make it back alive. He tells them to trust him because he won't come back empty-handed. Knowing that these are just empty words to keep the family at peace, Hyun finds it hard to hide her discomfort. After seeing how hard this family is having it, the MC turns off his Ultimate Eyes so he can focus on helping them solve their problems. He opens up the skill window, and it turns out that all of his skills starting from the store, dignity preservation, and storage are all on level 1. With a total of 3 points left, he decides to upgrade his store ability to the next level, and this increases the number of items that he can list to 20. He also gets a 10% discount applied to the prices of all the items. Now left with 2 points, he decides to invest more in the store and dignity preservation, considering the fact that he might meet even more citizens from now on. He upgrades the store to level 3, and this increases the number of items that can be listed up to 40. It also grants him the ability to restore old items and turn them into new ones. Our boy opens up the store and then purchases Samdi water and Jeju tangerines, and with the remaining points, he increases the level of his dignity preservation skill, and thus gives him the ability to register vassals. Just like the government of a nation would do, he envisions providing electricity and water to the neighbors so that he can request a lot of things in return. As Hyunjin is about to head out, he turns back to take another look at his family, and the look on their face completely expresses how scared they are. He assures them that he'll be back, so they should protect the house while he's gone. The kids express their dissatisfaction with their father going out because they're sure of the presence of monsters outside. They remember vividly when the invasion began while they were playing at the playground. Huge monsters suddenly appeared from nowhere, forcing them to take to their heels as they prayed to make it out of the sight of the monsters in one piece. Luckily for them back then, they were able to make it to shelter, and now the thought of their father going out to face such disaster again makes them start to cry out loudly. Hyun tries her best to console them, and seeing all these happening, Hyunjin starts to think within himself that this could be his last time seeing his family. Suddenly, they hear a sound at the door, and this scares them completely. The sound on the doorknob continues, and shortly after a voice is heard asking them politely to open up the door. Hearing the voice, Hyunjin almost concludes it to be a person, but he doesn't leave it to chance as he believes it could also be a monster. The voice asks again if there's anyone there, and the silence from the other side becomes deafening. After a moment of silence, Hyunjin starts to wonder if the person is gone, and suddenly, the door breaks open, forcing the man of the house to protect his family. Our boy walks in like he's their savior, and while they're all still cowering in fear, he calls their attention to himself politely. With a smile on his face, he introduces himself to them as Kim Yi-hyun, their next-door neighbor. He hands them a bag of water and tangerines before asking if they can give him the chance to talk after they eat and drink. The man of the house sees this, and he knows that there's no reason to refuse it as it's all they need, so he humbly accepts the offer before welcoming our boy in politely. The two little kids look completely scared as they hide behind their dad. With all of them sitting around the table, Yi-hyun notices that he also gave the girls a big shock with his appearance. He also notices the smart idea put together by the head of the house, and it happens to be the completely blackout curtains. The little idea proves to be a great one as it really does reduce the chance of them being attacked by monsters. The first agenda on his list happens to be lightening up the whole place, and he does that easily by just focusing on the bulbs until his eyes glow, and immediately the entire room becomes lit up. For starters, he hands them bottled water for the entire family, most especially the kids. After they've all settled, he hands the kids tangerines, asking if they like them, and with both of them looking uncertain, he hands it over to them. Soyeon receives the tangerine and she thanks him for it. Her mother then offers to help her peel the fruit, and afterwards, she gives her a slice. The sweet and succulent feeling of the tangerine in Soyeon's heart sparks up her entire body and lights up her face. Seeing how happy her younger sister is, Nayeon starts to drool as she awaits her share of the tangerine. Her mother then hands over a slice to her, and just as we all expected, she suddenly has joy written all over her face. Yi-hyun then receives a notification telling him that all four of them have had their trust in him increased. One notable increase amongst them happens to be that of Soyeon, as her trust level shot up to 57. As a result of this, she also unlocked loyalty, taking her loyalty level above 30. With these recent developments, the system lets our boy know that the little girl has fulfilled the requirements to be registered as a vassal, but he disagrees with this as he considers her to be too young. Unlike citizens, he only has the chance to register 10 vassals, so he needs them to be at least on the level of Hyunjin so that they can execute his orders. One little problem our boy is faced with now is the fact that the big-bellied man has a lower trust level compared to his youngest daughter, so he needs to find a way to make the man trust him more. He excuses the man to the corridor so they can have a private discussion. In the corridor, he asks the man if he received the citizenship, and the man replies saying his whole family received it 30 minutes ago, and just before they received it, they couldn't move their bodies for a short while. Yi-hyun promises the man that he'll help him return to the life he had before all this. He lets him know that he can make sure that monsters won't invade his house, and knowing that things like this don't come for free, the young man asks what he needs to do in return. Our boy asks him if he's still willing to try even if he might lose his life while at it, and the man assures him that he'll definitely do it. He lets the MC know that he was already having to go out to get food and water for his family, and at that point, he already put his kids on the line. Yi-hyun smiles in satisfaction, and afterward, he asks about the golf club that was in Hyunjin's hand earlier. He asks how much it costs, and when he learns of the cost, he concludes that it's too expensive for him to list in the store because right now, he needs to save money for the future. He then asks the young man if he remembers the day the monsters appeared, and it turns out that he does remember it as clearly as day. He notes that it was on a weekend, one he can consider to be the most horrifying of his life. Our protagonist then concludes that he believes the only survivors are those who stayed at home on that day. From his analysis of earlier battles, he was able to figure out that a single goblin doesn't possess much strength, as their levels are also lower than an adult male. He also figured out that the real weapon of a goblin would be that they always move in groups, and this happens to be the same for humans. Knowing this, he decides to prioritize growing his army first, and the First Order Mr. Choi gets to join hands with his savior to look for survivors together. Yi-hyun's apartment happens to be at the top of the building, and later in the evening, he gets a notification telling him that Hyunjin's trust has increased. As he lies down on his bed, he wonders if he'll eventually be able to meet his family members as he continues to take people in slowly. Suddenly, he hears a loud voice outside, and then he goes to check it out. Upon getting to his balcony, he's met with a surprising sight of people going hand in hand against multiple goblins. He thinks about helping them, but it turns out that it'll be harder than it looks, and to his surprise, these humans attack the goblins like a bunch of skilled fighters facing primary school children. Using a baseball, one of them lands a headshot on a goblin, taking the monster out in one shot. Another one attacks using a bow and arrow to fire 2 arrows in one strike, taking out 2 goblins accurately with the arrow piercing through their heads. The third one picks up his bow and arrow and uses it to smash the goblins, forcing the other ones to run for their lives in the face of complete defeat. The lady using the bow and arrow notices something moving around her, and as she tries to attack it, she finds a bag of chips lying on the floor. Ihyun waves down at them from his apartment, letting them know of his presence, and while he's at it, he hears a knock on his door. He goes on to check it out, and it turns out to be his new ally. Just as Hyunjin is about to make his way into the room, he gets restricted, and immediately after, he gets a notification from the system telling him that he's unqualified to enter the house. His master starts to wonder if this means that no one can enter his house at all, or if it's only those registered as his vassals who have the right to enter his house. He informs his master that just as he had requested, he has brought everything that could be used as a weapon in the box. Our boy picks up the box from his hand, and upon checking it out, the content includes various objects like knives. The protagonist then opens up his store and orders 5 bottles of water and 5 packets of ramyeon. He packs them all up into the carton and instructs the young man in front of him to take them to the first floor and place them at the entrance. The young man raises his concern, asking if such a mission wouldn't be too dangerous considering the presence of goblins. Yi then replies saying it's fine. He assures him that from his observation, the goblins are only active in broad daylight. That aside, he's sure of the safety of his underlings because of the presence of these skilled fighters outside the building. Deep within himself, he knows that he must bring these people over to his side, and the first method he plans on using is to lure them in with food, making them have no choice but to look for him once they realize he has food. He tells Soyeon's father that he has a plan in mind, so all he has to do is to take the supplies down to the first floor, leave it there, and come back up. Before the man left, he decided to do something nice for a guy like him. He opens up his quest window and assigns this task to him as a quest. The time limit for this quest is set to 24 hours, and the reward is a small amount of XP with no penalty for failure. Notification about this quest reaches him, and Yihyun lets him know that doing it will get him things like XP, similar to leveling up in a game. Currently, the young man is on level 9, so leveling up also guarantees him good rewards. Hyunjin makes his way down the stairs, taking each level one by one at his own pace, and by the time he arrives at the first floor, he makes his way out of the building. The young man makes no mistake in arming himself as he holds the carton in one hand while his golf club sits tightly on his other hand. After taking a few steps outside, he starts to get the feeling of being attacked by goblins, and this takes his entire body away from a state of ease. He starts to panic as he tells himself that he needs to get away, and just as he's about to take the next step, he slips and falls, letting out all of the contents of the carton he was holding. As he continues to tremble, he starts to scream out loud at his body, begging it to move at least. His body continues to remain in that position, refusing to move not even a centimeter forward, forcing him to give up to his oppressors, and just as he's about to accept his fate, a voice calls out to him, bringing him back to sanity. Yihyun receives a notification about an unauthorized entry, and he wonders what exactly it could be. He decides to take a closer look using his ultimate eyes skill. With this, he's able to confirm it to be the 6 fighters he sent Hyunjin to deliver supplies to. As soon as they enter the building, the lady who saw the ramyeon packet earlier instantly remembers it to be the same as the one where the ramyeon packet came from earlier. Hearing this, the others start to question if this place has food, as they're already starting to run out of rations. Yihyun receives a notification from the system telling him that these beings meet the requirements for citizenship, and afterwards, it asks if he'd like to propose citizenship to them. Our boy notices the difference between this time and the initial time he learned about citizenship. This time around, the new guys have a choice as it's a proposal, but earlier, he was able to forcefully grant citizenship to those who were caught during the expansion of his territory. He finds it hard to make a decision this time, as the people he's trying his best to keep on his side have a choice to either accept or reject his citizenship, and while he's still struggling to figure out what to do, a message comes in on the intercom from the man who happens to be on a quest. A brilliant idea comes to our boy's mind, one which is supposed to see him come out victorious. He edits the initial quest he gave earlier, and this time, he tells Hyunjin to treat the 6 guests to a meal. After receiving this new quest, he turns to the visitors and directs them towards his place. On their way, Yihyun proposes citizenship to all 6 of them, that is, Ha Dongjin, Kang Deoksu, Kim Gaeun, Yoo Hyerin, Kim Jin, and Moon Byung-ho. He also grants all 6 of them the right to access the 30th floor, and shortly after, he gets another notification telling him that the number of citizens has reached 10, and also the amount of XP and money that his citizens earn have increased by 10%. He then checks the stats of the 6 of them, and it turns out that while they're all fairly skilled fighters, they all have low levels of trust for him, as the highest happens to be that of Yoo Hyerin, the lowest level fighter but with a trust of 30. One person who catches the MC's eyes is Ha Dongjin, a level 23 fighter with a trust level of 19. A fighter of that level will be as strong as the Calican he killed previously. He goes on to check this gentleman's ability, and it turns out that he's skilled at baseball throw, a D-rank metahuman who has the ability to consume stamina to increase the power of the ball by 3 times. It is important to note that in reality, depending on who throws the baseball, it's an item that could become a weapon, and if the skill multiplies its power by 3 times, it'll be perfect for killing monsters. Considering Dongjin's trust, he believes it's something he can increase slowly. In the meantime, he sets the exp distribution rate for all 6 of them to 70%, and all that'll be left for him to do is to give them quests to hunt monsters now. Doing this will allow him the chance to just sit down and earn both money and exp as if he's auto-hunting in a game. He gets another notification telling him that Dongjin's trust has increased, and this surprises him. Hyerin and Gaeng's notification also falls in as their trust increases too, and this leaves our boy puzzled. Hyunjin welcomes the visitors to his home, and while his wife is puzzled as to what's going on, he assures her that all is well, telling her that he'll explain later on, but for now, she just has to prepare some food for the visitors. After she had made her way to the kitchen, one of them asks Hyunjin about Yihyun, and he replies saying he's not sure what kind of person he is as he doesn't know anything about him other than the fact that they're neighbors. He goes on to mention that he is quite an interesting person as all they have right now is thanks to his help. Hearing this, the visitor concludes that Yihyun is a metahuman too who has an amazing ability to be capable of things like this. He makes up his mind to impress him no matter what, seeing that he's someone who is powerful enough to provide electricity, food, and water. Hyunjin asks if they'd like to take a shower while they're waiting for their meal to be ready. The thought of having a shower in this current situation completely surprises the girls amidst them. Soon enough, it dawns on them that for the apartment to have electricity, it means that most of the facilities can be used, meaning they'd be able to get warm water as well. The man of the house goes on to let them know that he has a bathroom in the living room and master bedroom so 2 people can wash up at the same time while the others take turns. Looking concerned, one of the visitors asks their leader if he believes the man responsible for all these good things is a metahuman as well, and the reply he gets is that it's likely considering that his ability is more powerful than his. One idiot tries to cheer him up by telling him that all they need to do is to give him a good beating, but he immediately gets shut up. The lunatic is then reminded that they should be trying to impress him if anything and not pick a fight against him. He lets them know that their new goal is to obtain as much food as they can, and while they're at it, they should also ensure to read the room well. Byung-ho happens to be isolated as he's lost in thoughts, and when the leader calls his attention, he apologizes for not catching that. The leader also apologizes as he believes he's the root cause of their problem. He believes that none of this would have happened if he hadn't invited them to his housewarming, but Byung-ho assures him that it's fine because the reason he attended the housewarming was because he wanted to. The leader then says to him that all they'll do next is acquire food here and then go to his grandmother's place together. Byung-ho, still looking down, believes within himself that it's already too late because there's a low possibility of her still being alive. While the 4 of them are still having their discussion, the door behind them clicks and then it opens. The leader, Dongjin, suddenly stands as guard, ready to attack as they all feel a huge presence arriving, but to their surprise, it turns out to be Yihyun. He assures them that he'll help them all, and from the confidence in his voice, they're all led to believe that he might be the one to save them all from this pit of despair. Hyun apologizes to the party for their space being too small to contain them. The members of the team, who sit around the table while expecting dinner, quickly reply to her that it's their fault for showing up without dropping any notice. The lord of that small house, the big man in glasses, walks towards the crew with some plates, informing them that the food is coming right up. He starts dropping the dishes on the table and the guests stare at it in awe. The wife, who is told impromptu to make a meal, shyly scratches her head as she tells them that she doesn't know if what they've prepared will suit their tastes. In front of the guests are dishes that look like they took several minutes to make. They've got omelet, veggies, boiled rice, meat, and egg rolls. One of the guests uses her chopsticks to touch the egg roll and drools while looking at the cuisine before her. Without being able to hold herself back, the girl starts praising the food, calling it amazing and speaking like some hipster gal. Quickly, the hostess humbly passes the praise to Yihyun, saying that it's thanks to the ingredients he gave her, and if not she would have served only rice and tangerines. As for Yihyun, he sees the woman's trust for him to have risen in number up to 50. He inwardly admits to being surprised that her trust reached 50 before her husband's. As soon as everyone is settled, the people on the table chorus their words before digging into the food. On their faces are traces of joy and pleasure gotten from the taste of the delicacy. The member in a purple jumpsuit even confesses that the egg roll is very good. Another girl on the table asks her friend to confirm if the snack is like the type that Japanese restaurants serve. Instead of the boy answering her, she gets her confirmation from the chef, who asks them to enjoy their meal. From the corner of the house, the cook's daughter calls out to her mother, demanding for egg rolls. The mother then tells her to hold it in and promises to make them for her after their guests are done eating. She pets her teary-eyed daughter to console her, but to their surprise, the girl in tracksuit calls for her, asking if she wants to eat egg roll with her. As innocent as ever, the child dashes to her new benefactor and sits on her lap, while stretching her hands to showcase agreement. The lady then picks an egg roll for her and feeds the child. Watching the girl silently are her parents, who notes that she shouldn't have eaten from a guest's food. The shut-in humbly asks the parents to eat with them since there's enough to go around. After being asked to join in, the couple look at themselves and agree to dine with them. When the whole house dig into their food, Yi-hyun notes that it's been a while since he has a proper meal with people around. He remembers the paper attached to one of the perishable goods in the freezer. From the description, it is highly implied that the letter was written by our MC's mother. As he gobbles up his meal, he hopes everyone is safe. Minutes later, the feast before them has plummeted down to nil. By then, Twin Buns tells her mom that she's sleepy while rubbing her eyes. The woman then carries her daughter and tells the other one that it's time they head back to bed. With the father left in the sitting room, he sits with the other members and listens to what Yi-hyun has to say. Our product starts by continuing the conversation they had earlier. He asks one of the members there why he isn't able to go to his grandmother's house despite being nearby. The lad in question speaks up, saying it's because of the goblins. The shut-in asks again to confirm what he just heard. There he learns that the underground park of the apartment is a good place for hiding themselves. That's where the goblins decided to make their base. As Yi-hyun absorbs what he hears like a sponge, the other dude estimates the number of goblins present in the car park to be at least a few thousands. While pondering, the shut-in states that his ability only applies until the 30th floor, and that's why the goblins can come into the apartment building via underground. The dude with the missing granny says that they saw that all the apartment's entrances were linked to the underground, so they dared not go out. The shut-in then informs them that he remembers side roads existed, but he learns from them that there exists a monster that looked more dangerous than the goblins. He is told that such a creature looks like a wolf or a bear, and the only reason they were able to escape from the creature was because it was fighting a group of goblins. The shut-in ponders on what he just learned and tells the worried boy that they'll have to confront the creature at some point. The dude agrees but says that they are limited. Confused, Yi-hyun asks them what they mean, and he has replied that they use bows and throw baseballs. These are items that they'll run out of eventually. The party looks depressed after voicing out their issues, but to their surprise, the shut-in tells them that he can resolve the problem for them. He asks them if he can take a look at their arrow and baseball, and they immediately hand the items over to him. As soon as he touches the baseball, the pop-up screen shows up, asking if he'll list the item. He accepts the request and then tries doing the same for the bow, but the system charges 1,530,000 won for it. Still, he accepts and lifts the bow. Then he asks them if they can all use bows. They all look at him speechless, so he carries on with the plan, purchasing 5 sets of bows and arrows. As he drops the new sets of weapons on the table, he tells them to take the current chance to practice if they can't use the set items, since they'll be using them from that moment. The shut-in stares at the new pop-up screen, which shows the names of the party members, indicating that their trust levels have increased. Seeing the boss's power up close, a member of the party is shocked by his powers and believes that if they work for the shut-in, they might be able to save his grandma. The dude whom they want to rescue, his Grangren, goes by the name Moon. Byung-ho's trust has increased greatly. The rest of the party members marvel as they pick up the weapons, noting that their hunting speed will increase and they won't need to put themselves in danger to retrieve used arrows. While the joyful atmosphere continued, Yi-hyun raises his hand, interrupting them, saying that before they are on, they'll need to greatly reduce the number of goblins. Byung-ho agrees with him but asks when they are to start hunting the creatures. The shut-in folds his arms as he declares that the hunt will be the following day. The party is shocked because it seemed too soon, but the house master tells them that the faster the better. While one of them wanted to bring up the event happening too soon, the shut-in cuts him off by saying that they'll save the boy's grandmother the following day. The party then asks how they plan to do as he said, and the MC says they'll use a bait strategy. The party members absorb what they've been told, and some of them agree that it might work if only things go smoothly. A system screen appears, interrupting the shut-in neat, saying Choi Hyungjun has completed his quest and 30,000 won has been rewarded. Surprised, Yi-hyun learns that money is required, and if he has enough, he can raise the level of his citizens. He then concludes to only raise it when it's needed. Choi's trust data reaches the shut-in, and he learns that the father's trust has reached 50, unlocking loyalty. Not long after, it shows the man's loyalty to have surpassed 30, and a new pop-up shows that he has met all the requirements to be registered as a vassal. A question pops up, showing the man's data and asking if he should be granted the position of a vassal. Yi-hyun accepts, and immediately, the man in glasses feels a surge of power in him. He then voices out that something had happened to him. As for the shut-in, he reads the messages which informs him of his first new vassal. As a reward, he has been granted a skill called Vassal Summon. The ability means he can summon the vassal into his house, but he can only do it 2 hours after they have first been summoned. The new ability added to Choi Hyungjun is the Strength of a Gorilla. It's a passive skill which the father of 2 got as a reward for being a vassal. The exp and gold earned by the first vassal will be doubled, and the shut-in can use Ultimate Eyes to summon him within 5 meters of his house. The dude sees a plus icon and clicks on it. He is then asked if he'd like to use 1,000,000 won to increase Choi's level. He immediately gasps in horror of his dwindling funds, and his expression is even spotted by the party members. He quickly refutes nothing being the problem after being asked out of concern if anything is the matter, so he throws the question to Choi. The man then replies that he feels like his strength is overflowing, asking if the shut-in was the one who made him that way. Yi-hyun affirms, and Four Eyes says that he feels like he has become 10 years younger. The man looks at his left hand while he can see the strength flowing through it. The shut-in smirks at the reply and tells the man that he wants him to also join the mission. The man is shocked since he didn't expect it, but he picks up the bow and arrow nevertheless. Although he looks super disturbed since he doesn't want to join the rescue team. The shut-in notes that with the vassal joining them, the citizens will receive a 10% bonus while Choi himself will receive double of the exp, meaning his gains will be astronomical. He is then ordered to kill as many monsters as possible. Reluctantly, he agrees to the task. In response to that, Yeon beams a bright smile at him as he says that he'll be counting on him. The following day, on the first floor, the rescue party walks through. One of them asks a guy named Dongjin if there's really a need to check the first floor since the windows are broken and the place generally is in a bad shape. Dongjin then replies that they should check regardless since they are there as a rescue team. It is the first mission given to them by the shut-in. They are to rescue all the survivors in the building and transport them to the 30th floor. One of them says the crux of the mission is to lure large numbers of goblins into the apartment building and kill them. To do that, they need to find as many survivors as they can. After reciting what they'll have to do, the leader tells them to start checking from Unit 101, saying they should also stay at alert since they do not know where the goblins might pop out from. They do as they are told and walk to the first rooms on the ground floor, but upon entering the place, they gasp at the horror before their eyes. The window to the place was broken and there were bodies everywhere. Dongjin immediately tries his best to contain his emotions before telling his party to carry on with the mission. Each time they get to a door, they see it's broken and the people there are no more. After checking the first floor, the group leader covers his eyes sadly as he curses that there's nothing on the first floor. He then demands that they go to the second floor quickly. They do as they are told and the sight on the second floor scares them more than that of the first. Quickly they head to the third floor. There they see a locked door. Dongjin hurriedly bangs the door, asking if there's anyone in the building. The others join in as they bang other locked doors, but they do not get any response. The deafening silence passes a message to them, so they lower their heads. The team leader instructs them to go higher. When they reach the fourth floor, he bangs on one of the locked doors, asking loudly for survivors and saying that they are the rescue team. Fortunately, the door opens up slightly and a scrawny-looking man inside shows his face, asking if they are really who they claim to be. A wave of happiness swoops down on them as they have finally met a survivor. The old man then asks for water, claiming to be very thirsty, and Dongjin quickly offers him a bottle. After collecting it, the team leader tells the man that they are also fellow residents of the apartment, but they are there to rescue survivors. He tells the man that there's a place safer than where he is and asks that they go together. The man stares at him silently for a moment before shutting his door. He then opens it widely, revealing two other people inside. He stretched forth his hand at Dongjin and apologized for being paranoid, introducing himself as Hong Young-soo. Quickly, the team leader takes his hand and tells the man his name. He then tells the girls on the team that he wants them to take the people to the 30th floor before coming back. They accept the order without any question. Surprised, the old man asks why they are going to the 30th floor and not leaving the apartment, but before he can get answered, his carefree son steps out of the door while talking to his father. He reminds him that he once said a rescue team would come for them and he suspects that they have a helicopter waiting for them. The lady in purple tracksuit corrects the man by saying that on the floor, they'll get a warm meal and shower. Upon hearing the later half of the statement, the man's daughter speaks up, asking if it's true, and as soon as she is told the shower was a warm one, the lady rushes out of the room. She yells at her dad to stop wasting time so that they can go quickly. Still a bit concerned, the man stares at his children, but he finally agrees. Back in the shut-in's apartment, Yeon sees that the number of citizens he has is around 40, and the exp and gold that they earn has been increased by 90%. And with that, I'll be ending the first episode for this series here. I'm aware that only one more chapter is left till we catch up with the story that's been released so far, but I will hold on to it for a longer episode once more chapters get released. In the meantime, I hope you guys enjoyed the adventure of our shut-in hero so far, and are looking forward to more of it in the future. If you're new to the channel and enjoyed the video, I encourage you to please subscribe. I upload almost every single day, so you will have a lot to look forward to in the future. I also have a massive catalog of manhwas uploaded on the channel already, so feel free to browse and watch your favorite series while you wait for the next upload. Until next time.